Thank you, Tuan. Exciting with the voting, and it seemed to be very clear on option 3. So let's see if we need to include others in the voting or not. It was a very obvious kind of result here. So thank you for joining us today. I know we're a bit over time, and you joined from all over the world, so some of the time zones must be quite late, especially probably in Australia right now. And also thank you for your warm welcome and enthusiasm for this mother's milk tool. We'd really like to thank the speakers and the presenters. Professor Dame Marilyn Waring, she informed us about the flawed foundations of our economic statistics and how accounting for time is much better. Professor Julie Smith guided us through the economic valuation of breastfeeding and the conceptual basis for the mother's milk tool. And also Alex Ilyama helped us navigate and use the tool. And Francis Knight just helped us to understand what makes for a successful tool. So a lot of lessons learned there that we can use, including not only for the development, but also for the dissemination and to ensure uptake. Yeah, and also very great feedback from the users with testimonials. They were both they're informative, they were even emotional, and they were inspirational. And I really love this process of co-creation. And for example, this the suggestion to add a certificate under the individual mother's calculator. I think that was a brilliant idea. So we will look at all your feedback and try to incorporate that in any updates. And also Dr. Phil Baker, he shared some insight on the tool as a lever for transformative change. So if you think about like the change that is needed and then investments that are needed, we already have some of those kind of bulks of actions that are needed. They need to, of course, be more specified for countries, but I think we can learn a lot from those actions from the Global Breastfeeding Collective that includes investments in paid maternity leave and maternity protection, the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding that needs to be implemented, improve access to skill counseling, of course, and exploitative marketing of breast milk substitutes and other products under the scope of the code and related World Health Assembly resolutions. And also what's coming quite obvious out here is that we need to also invest in surveys so we know what the breastfeeding rates are, and also monitoring progress towards the global and national breastfeeding targets. Yeah, and of course the community networks that needs to also be invested in. Some additional and very specific actions that was proposed today, unless you are from Norway, is to count breastfeeding and mother's milk production in national food balance sheets, food statistics, and food surveillance systems. So we need to identify who oversees the national food balance sheets, and we need to work with the systems for national accounts or national statistics offices. I know that Julie Smith is already well connected with the International Association for Research in Wealth and Income. Hope I got that right. And many of the national statistics offices, they are represented there. So hopefully Julie can also help you with some of those connections. Some immediate next steps for us would include listening to your feedback and guidance to further refine the experience using the tool. Dr. Tuan Nguyen and other colleagues did a wonderful job responding to your questions in the chat box, but we'll try to respond to them also by email, and we're also considering making a frequently asked question document that we can upload on the website. We also plan to publish a manuscript presenting the tool and the evidence for the estimates that it generates in a scientific journal. And I think that's also some of the findings from Francis' paper. We will also explore expanding the scope to also cover environmental impact of lost mother's milk, and ideally ahead of this year's UN Climate Change Conference, COP 2022, I think is around November. So we have a bit short time to do all of that. Lastly, I would also like to recognize the fantastic support from colleagues behind the scene and behind the screen, including Toby James and Jessica Fagan from ANU Communication, Nguyen Xiu Ling and Channan Zhang from Alive and Thrive Communication, and also Andini Pramono, who is the research assistant for the webinar launch and a PhD candidate at ANU. Thank you also to Naomi Hull for managing the tech and this webinar so well. So finally, thank you to all the mothers out there for your enormous and visible contributions to the economy and society. Happy Mother's Day and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.